Alright, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install macOS Catalina on an unsupported Mac. Now, for this demonstration, I'm going to be installing Catalina on this mid-2009 17-inch Apple MacBook Pro, which of course is not natively supported by macOS Catalina. Now, the process that I'm going to show you here involves the use of my macOS Catalina Patcher tool, which is a program that I've written to automate the entire process of installing macOS Catalina onto one of these unsupported systems. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and begin the process of showing you how to install Catalina on an unsupported system. So the first thing you're going to want to do is head on over to the macOS Catalina Patcher webpage. So this is, of course, on my webpage here, and this webpage will contain all of the necessary information that you'll need to install Catalina on an unsupported system. So the first thing you're going to want to take a look at here is the system compatibility section of the webpage. So you're going to want to make sure before you start anything that your machine is one of the listed compatible systems. So in order to find that out, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to About This Mac, and you're going to want to take note of course, the year of your machine, and that will allow you to figure out which of the main categories your machine falls under. And then if you go to System Report, you can see right here that the model identifier is displayed. So if I go ahead and show you there, you can see that this system is a MacBook Pro 5,2. So that is what I'm going to look for when checking compatibility. So since mine is a MacBook Pro 5,2, you can see it falls under this category right here and is one of the MacBook Pro 5,X systems. So that indicates that this is indeed a supported system. So I've also added a section listing the machines that are not supported by this patch in order to avoid any confusion that someone might have. So if your machine is listed here, then your system will not be compatible with this tool. Now the one exception to that is the 2007 iMac 7,1. That machine can actually be made compatible if you install a Core 2 Duo T9300 or T9500 CPU. And those of course are Penryn based Core 2 Duo processors. So the second thing you're going to want to take a look at here are the known issues with this tool. So if we go ahead and zoom in a little bit here, we can take a look at some of the known issues with the program. So the first thing here is the non-metal GPU application support, and that basically is just the built-in Maps application that falls under that category. That is the only program in Catalina that does not work on metal compatible video cards. And the machines that have non-metal video cards are basically all of the unsupported systems except for a Mac Pro if you've upgraded the video card, or an iMac if you've upgraded the video card in that. But 90% of the machines you're going to be using this on are going to have non-metal video cards, and that will result in the Maps application not functioning quite right. But that is one small downside to running Catalina on the machine, and in my opinion is not really worth considering. So the next issue that you're going to want to be aware of is the AMD Radeon HD 5000 and 6000 series video card incompatibility. That is basically where those series of video cards will not support full graphics acceleration when you're running Catalina. And if you do have one of those video cards, I would highly recommend that you do not install Catalina, as it will be nearly unusable without graphics acceleration, as will any other version of OS X. So to get around this on some systems, there is a way. For example, on the iMacs, on the 2010 and 2011 iMacs, those machines use an MXM graphics card, which just sits in a slot on the logic board, and those can be easily upgraded. Now, if you have a 2011 15-inch or 17-inch MacBook Pro, it is possible to disable the AMD Radeon HD 6000 series video card and use only Intel HD graphics. And those, of course, work perfectly fine under Catalina. So the last issue is the 2008 Mac Pro 3,1 GPU support for newer AMD video cards. And basically, that means that you cannot use any newer AMD video card, even if it supports metal, on a Mac Pro 3,1. And the reason for this is that the CPUs that machine uses don't support SSE 4.2 instruction set. So those drivers for those newer cards require that instruction set in order to run correctly. And the Mac Pro 3,1 does not actually support any processors that have the SSE 4.2 instruction set. So unfortunately, when you're running Catalina on this system, you will not be able to use any card that's the AMD Radeon HD 7000 series or later. So you will have to use a Kepler NVIDIA card in order to get full graphics acceleration and metal compatibility on a Mac Pro 3,1. So with all that out of the way, the first thing you're going to want to do to start the process is to download a copy of the macOS Catalina Patcher app. So we're going to go up to the top of the web page here and just select download latest version. And that will, of course, download the latest release of the tool. So that will take just a few seconds to download here, as you can see. And once that finishes, I will show you the next steps. Alright, so as you can see, the tool has finished downloading successfully. So now that we've gotten it downloaded, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and open the downloaded DMG. You can go ahead and skip the verification. And once the DMG is mounted here, what you're going to want to do is right-click on the macOS Catalina Patcher app and select Open. Now, if you just double-click on it, it may not open on some systems due to a gatekeeper. But if you right-click on it and select Open, it should open all the time. So we'll go ahead and do that. It'll take a few seconds to verify it here. And when you get this window, just go ahead and select Open. So once you're in the macOS Catalina Patcher app, the process is actually very straightforward. So all you're going to want to do is select Continue, Continue once again, and right here you'll have an option of selecting or downloading a copy of the official Apple Catalina Installer app. So in most cases, on an unsupported system, you're going to need to download a copy, and this tool will allow you to download the latest copy of the Catalina installer straight from the Apple software update servers. Now, if you already have a copy downloaded, you can just select Browse for a copy here, and then just select the app in the list. However, in this case, since I don't have a copy of the app downloaded, I'll go ahead and click Download a Copy and select Start Download. Now, as you can see, this is quite a big download. It's a 7 GB download. In fact, it's actually slightly larger than that. So it will take quite some time to complete here. So we'll go ahead and just let this sit here and download the installer. Alright, so as you can see here, the download is just about complete. And once it's done, we will proceed with the process. Alrighty, so as you can see, the download has succeeded here, and now you will have 3 different options to use to install Catalina on your unsupported system. This first option here will allow you to do an in-place installation without using an external drive or anything. The middle option here will allow you to create a bootable external drive to be used as the installer. And the third option here will allow you to use an ISO image to either burn to a DVD or install in a virtual machine. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration and for the purposes of troubleshooting in case something happens, I would highly recommend that you use the bootable installer method. Now, you don't have to, but it is highly recommended in order to ensure the most success in installing Catalina. Now, I'm not saying installing to the machine won't work. It's just recommended that you use an external drive. So I've got an external hard drive here. I have it on a USB adapter, as you can see right there. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the machine. And before we actually use it as the installer, we do need to format it correctly in Disk Utility first. So I will be showing you how to do that. So let me go ahead and close out of that. You can see the drive has mounted. So now what you're going to want to do is head on over to Disk Utility. So once you've gotten Disk Utility open, you're going to want to locate your USB drive in the side here. If for some reason it doesn't show up, you might have a View menu up here. Just select View and then Show All Devices, and then it should show up. So what we're going to do first is select the volume on my external drive that I'm going to be using as the bootable installer. So in that case, it is this volume right here. We're going to go head up to Erase, and you're going to want to make sure macOS Extended Journal or OS X Extended Journal, depending on which version of macOS you're currently using. You're going to want to make sure that is selected, and then you're going to want to name it whatever you want. So in this case, I'll name it Cat Installer for Catalina Installer, and just select Erase. Now you cannot format a USB drive as APFS in order to use the bootable installer. It has to be macOS or OS X Extended Journaled. So we'll go ahead and click Done here, and now the drive is formatted correctly. So now, once we've formatted the drive, we can go ahead and select Create a Bootable Installer. And from here, you will be presented with a list of all the connected disks. So in this case, you just want to select the volume that you just created. In that case, it was Cat Installer. Once that is selected, you can click Start, click Yes to confirm that all contents will be erased, and then type your password. And once your password is entered, the process will begin. So if you want to take a look at exactly what's going on during this process, you can go up and select Window and select Log. And basically that will just give you all of the verbose output for what's currently going on in the background. So in most cases you won't need this, but you will, of course, if something does go wrong for whatever reason, you can always check and see what the issue is here. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So this process will take quite a bit to complete. So while we wait for that, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here and resume it once the drive creation has succeeded. Alrighty, so as you can see, the drive was created successfully. So now the next step is to restart the machine and boot off of this drive. So we're going to go ahead and select Quit here and go up and restart the machine. So just hold down the Option key once the system is shut off. And just keep holding the Option key and it will show the list of bootable devices. So you're going to want to go ahead and select the flash drive here, or the USB drive, whatever you used. It may be named EFI boot, or it may be named whatever you name the drive itself. So regardless, it'll have the Catalina logo like that. So go ahead and press the Enter key to boot from it. So this will take just a little bit to boot up off the drive. So I'm going to go ahead and resume the video once the system is booted. Alright, so as you can see here, the machine has finished booting up. So the first thing you're going to want to do here is go ahead and open up Disk Utility. So we're going to go ahead and just double click on it here. And that will bring up the Disk Utility window. And what you're going to want to do here is either erase your drive as APFS or convert the drive to APFS. So I'll show you how to do both of those right now. So in my case, we're going to go ahead and show you the conversion on the El Capitan volume that we were just booted from. So in order to convert a volume, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and first select the unmount option right here. Go ahead and unmount the volume first. And once the volume is unmounted, then what you're going to want to do is go up into the menu bar right here, select Edit, and then select Convert to APFS. Now I'm not actually going to do it right now, but if you want to convert a volume to APFS, that's what you need to do. So in this case, I'm actually going to just go ahead and erase a volume as APFS. So we'll go ahead and erase this volume I have here called Catalina. Go ahead and select Erase. And you can, of course, name the volume whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to leave it named Catalina and go ahead and select Erase. Now, I should mention that the volume you use must be formatted as APFS, as Catalina requires an APFS volume in order to boot properly. So yeah, you must use an APFS volume in this case. So once you've created or converted an APFS volume, the next thing you're going to want to do is select the Reinstall macOS option. So this will take just a second to load up here. All right, and once you've selected that option, you should get this window right here. And of course, you just want to go ahead and select Continue, select Agree again. And then you're going to want to select the volume that you just formatted or converted to APFS. So in that case, it was Catalina. And we're going to go ahead and just select Install. Now, the installation preparation stage will take just a few minutes to complete. And then once that finishes, it will reboot into a second installation phase where it will actually complete the full installation process. So this process won't take very long, so I'm going to go ahead and let it run here and show you exactly what the system will do. All right, so as you can see, the system just restarted itself. That is exactly what is supposed to happen at this stage. So you just want to let it boot up, just let it do its thing. It'll do everything that it needs to, exactly like it's supposed to. So this screen here is actually because this machine does not natively support booting from APFS volumes. This is actually a custom APFS boot implementation that I implemented that will allow a system that doesn't natively support APFS to actually boot from an APFS volume. So as you can see, it is about to boot up right here. And now the rest of the installation will proceed. So I'll go ahead and show you how that looks right now. All right, so now you can see that the system has actually started doing the full installation process. Now, this process will take quite some time to complete, especially if you don't have an SSD. So just give it time, it'll do its thing. And once the system has finished installing, I will go ahead and show you what to do from there. All right, so as you can see here, the installation is just about to finish up. Now at this point, I should mention that the post-install patches are actually applied automatically for you during the installation process. And of course, only the patches necessary for your specific machine are applied. And that means that even if you install this using this patcher on a supported Mac, then no post-install patches will be applied as it can detect that. So this drive can be used for both a supported and an unsupported system, as I'm doing here. Now in a second here, I will show you the process of manually applying the post-install tool. However, like I said, it is optional as it is done for you automatically during the installation process. It is probably doing it about right now, actually. So in a minute here, once that gets finished up, the system will reboot. And from there, I'll go ahead and boot back onto the drive and show you the process of manually applying the post-install tool. But like I said, it is optional in this stage. You can just let the machine sit here and boot up normally and it will get straight into Catalina. But yeah, it should just take just a minute here. And when it does, we'll go ahead and boot off the drive again. All right, so as you can see, the machine is rebooting now. So now I'm just going to go ahead and hold down the Option key once again. All right, so once the boot menu appears, you can go ahead and boot off the USB drive once again. Now, like I said, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you this just so you know what to do if for some reason you need to apply post-install patches manually. So I'll go ahead and let this boot up, resume the video, and then show you how the post-install patch tool works. All right, so as you can see, the system has booted off the USB drive again. Now, in order to install the post-install patches, what you're going to want to do is just select macOS post-install in the list here. Just double click on that, and you can see that this window will appear right here. Now this will automatically select all of the necessary post-install patches for this particular machine model. As you can see, it says optimal patches for a Mac Pro or a MacBook Pro 5.2 will be installed on the volume Catalina, and it will always automatically select the volume that you most recently installed Catalina onto. So in that case, it was Catalina. But if for some reason you want to change the Mac model and or the volume you want to install the patches on, you can click this change button right here, select the desired model here. So for example, I can select, I don't know, a MacBook Pro 8.3, and I can select another one of these volumes. And as you can see, it now says exactly what's going to happen right there. And you can see the selection of patches has changed. So you can apply these patches as many times as you want. It doesn't hurt anything. So I'm going to go ahead and just get the drives selected properly here. And I'm going to go ahead and apply patches. Alright, so as you can see, the patches were applied successfully. Now, if for some reason your machine is having problems even after applying post-install patches, you may have to use this force cache rebuild option here before clicking reboot in order to force rebuild the pre-linked kernel cache. So in this case, I'm not going to do that since it was a fresh install, and I'm just going to go ahead and select restart. Now from here, I'm just going to let it boot up completely normally, and once it does, it should now boot into a copy of Catalina. So we'll go ahead and restart right now. It may sit there rebuilding caches. In this case, it did not. So now the system will just start booting up normally. So as you can see here, it is going through the APFS boot implementation once again. And like I said, this will happen every single time you start up a machine that does not natively support APFS. So as you can see here, it is now booting the newly installed copy of Catalina. And from here, it will get into the first time setup. Alrighty, so as you can see here, we are now in the first time setup of macOS, and that indicates that Catalina has been installed and patched successfully. So now I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the first time setup, and then resume the video once I'm in the Catalina install. Alrighty, so as you can see here, the system has finally booted up into a working copy of macOS Catalina, and as you can see here, we have been greeted with a patch updater window. Now, the patch updater is a program that I've implemented into Catalina Patcher, which allows easy updating and installation of new patches for a system. So in this case, you can see the night shift patch is available here. So we're going to go ahead and install that now. Now, just go ahead and enter your password, and you will want to install any of these patches that you might get. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Restart Later here, and now we'll go ahead and show you a little bit around the system. So let's go ahead into About This Mac, of course, and check out these system specifications. So, as you can see here, we of course are running macOS Catalina version 10.15 on the same mid-2009 17-inch MacBook Pro. Now, of course, this is a beta version of Catalina because the beta version is the latest release out at this point. However, this will, of course, work with the final release as well. As you can see, this machine has an NVIDIA GeForce 9400M video card, and it also has 4 GB of DDR3 RAM. So we'll go ahead into System Report here, and I'll show you a little bit more about the system. You can see it is, of course, the MacBook Pro 5.2, as I showed you before. Go ahead into Graphics and Displays. You can see it detects both the 9400M and 9600M GT, neither of which are metal-compatible video cards. But as you can see, graphics acceleration is working perfectly fine. So as you can see here, all the animations are smooth, and we have full transparency on the dock, menu bar, and everything else here. So the last thing I want to mention are the weird graphics anomalies that occur with non-metal video cards when using light mode. And it's not a big deal at all. It's very, very minor. But I just want to make you aware of those just so you know what to expect. So let's go ahead and set the system to light mode here. And as you can see, for some reason, the menu bar up here is this weird dark gray color. And the same will occur if you go ahead and open a volume here in Finder. You can see that the Finder sidebar is also gray and not translucent at all. Now, I'm not really sure why that is, and in fact, there are some patches in development to actually get around this, which I will be implementing into Catalina Patcher in a future version. But for now, I just want you to be aware of these light mode anomalies, just so you know what to expect if you indeed encounter them. So I would highly recommend that you just use the system in dark mode, which, as you can see, looks perfectly fine. You can see there's full translucency on the sidebar in dark mode, and the menu bar looks normal as well. So that is how to install macOS Catalina version 10.15 on an unsupported Mac. Hope you enjoyed this video.